Hi, I'd like to hone my sword, please.
Of course. You, seen a lot of battle?
Yep, I just fought a guy 3 levels above me. I had to hit him in the face like 60 times, and it took the edge off.
Oh. Was it worth it?
I don't know. Will 400 drachmi cut it?
400 drachmi?
I know. Overkill, but please, spare no expense. I cannot slog through another 10-minute stabathon with some unarmored rando again.
No, I'm sorry. You misunderstand. For 400 drachmi, I'll let you watch while we upgrade someone else's sword, but if you want us to upgrade yours, you're gonna need 2,000 drachmi.
2,000?
2,000. And like 223 sapling trees, 60-ish handfuls of precious gems, a cart or 2 of iron, 86 animal pelts, and I don't know, maybe like an ancient tablet?
You can't be serious.
Oh, I can, and I am. If you can't afford my services, would you mind getting out of the way? There are paying customers behind you.
What the f***? This may surprise you, but Assassin's Creed Odyssey isn't quite living up to the brand's commitment for even quasi-historical realism here.
Wait, having your blade sharpened in ancient Greece didn't cost the wealth of a small nation?
Believe it or not, it was a little bit cheaper. Yeah. Now clearly this market wasn't designed with immersion in mind, historically or materially. Like, even if the service was expensive for the time period, what are all of these gems for? And the wood? And why so much of them? Why so much?
Obviously, Odyssey's designers wanted to add gear leveling and just explained it in-universe by doing business at a blacksmith.
Huh. And why do you think that is?
Because it makes sense for you to pay someone to do work that you can't do yourself.
That it does. But for the purchase to make sense, the economy in which it takes place needs to make at least some sense, right? And if anything, this economic exchange does not make sense. It's not just Odyssey though, but we'll get back to you, Ubisoft. Don't think you're getting out of this. A lot of games struggle to have sensible economies for many different reasons.
Not to mention how complex an economy is in and of itself.
Actually, let's mention it. According to one of the few redeeming corners of the internet, Wikipedia,
an economy is an area of production
distribution,
and trade,
as well as
consumption
of goods and services.
What the f***? Well, that sounds like a whole bunch of complex stuff. Area of production, distribution, sounds like gameplay to me. Trade, that's at least a storefront UI, if not also gameplay. And don't get me started on the consumption of goods and services. Now we're talking about currency systems and consumable items, gear that probably adds some kind of boost or debuff, not to mention all of those non-playable characters that have to run all of these storefronts. In order to even think about making an economy believable, every feature, every mechanic has to be tailored to imply the same economic infrastructure. Take Skyrim. We produce herbs by gathering them in the wild or growing them at home. That's exploration, spawning, interaction. Those herbs can produce potions or be distributed as is by selling them to Skyrim's merchants. That's a skill system and user interface for both. You could even go as far to say that the merchants that we have traded them to are using these herbs to either produce their own potions or retrade them as they see fit.
Yeah, but not actually. Like, there's no AI doing that in Skyrim simulation.
Well, that's true. But just because a shop inventory is programmatically generated doesn't mean that it just magically appeared overnight, much to Erlen Greymane's shock and good fortune. Instead, what's implied is an unseen facet of Skyrim's economy, occurring in a time and place outside of our story. We can assume this because nothing in Skyrim contradicts it, so Occam's razor. All kinds of games across many genres use economies to rationalize their gameplay. How credible that rationalization is has profound effects on our suspension of disbelief and therefore our enjoyment. Now, clearly this is a big chunky topic, so today we're just going to focus on the first aspect of economic systems, production. In Mass Effect 2, Commander Shepard leads an investigation into the sudden disappearance of human colonists. She must gather resources to upgrade her ship, the crew, and even herself for what may well be a one-way mission outside of charted space. These upgrades are critical, and they require unique elemental resources to produce. Small quantities can be found on every mission, but the bulk of them have to be gathered by scanning planets from orbit. This creates an opportunity for either the extremely patient
Or the extremely deranged.
among us to deplete every known planet in the Milky Way of its rare elements. Over the course of Mass Effect 2, it's possible to leech massive quantities from every system we visit, upending who knows how many livelihoods and local economies, all in the service of rebuffing the Normandy's shields, or getting more damage out of our shotgun.
Yeah, it's really not that deep. Look, going full Nestle on the galaxy's rare elements doesn't add to our Renegade score or anything like that. BioWare wasn't trying to make commentary on the commander's ethics around consumption.
But why not, though? If mechanics don't further our understanding of the protagonist or their world, what's their point? We talked around this last episode. Gameplay can be more or less emblematic of our character's behavior as we're meant to understand it. Failing to consider the implication of every way we behave in a game is, at best, a missed opportunity, and at worst, an accidental contradiction of our motives, our principles. Now, I know BioWare didn't mean to make Shepard the second most destructive force in the galaxy, but that's kind of what these mechanics are implying. Player behavior isn't the only thing that gets skewed in absurd systems of production. Sometimes, the products themselves can be just as twisted. Horizon Zero Dawn is a post-apocalyptic action RPG where every whimsical aspect of the world eventually traces back to a grounded, high-tech origin. Everything except how Aloy heals her injuries. See, for all of the synchronicity between Zero Dawn's lore and its game mechanics, it still features that classic game design trope of health potions. Now, these aren't like technobabble health potions, like some kind of CRISPR-based reconstructive medicine or whatever, just potion of the health variety.
You're really coming for health potions now? A game design staple since the dawn of time, so ubiquitous literally no one complains about their nature except, apparently, you.
I wouldn't if not for how they were produced. See, combat with machines of any stripe is unforgiving, even on easier difficulties. You don't want to be caught without some health potions, but crafting these useful little tinctures isn't really a simple matter. A full health potion consists of 5 steaks, 5 legs, and 5 rack of ribs. And don't try eating just one piece of meat, it can't help you.
You have to blend them to get the good stuff.
Per this recipe, we're in for killing at least 2 animals, which just on its face is hilarious. Like, that's an incredible amount of meat. It gets a little bit more absurd though. Carcasses in Zero Dawn only drop random animal loot. Imagine field dressing a kill and finding empty pockets where entire muscle groups should be. Uh-oh. It's possible to clear an entire area of wildlife just to get your hands on an anatomically complete set of crafting materials. Thankfully, it doesn't take that much time to gas up our pate camelback, but if you're unlucky, Horizon will really rub your face in it. See, save games can only be done at a campfire or outpost, so periodically, cursed stars align in a horrific cosmic colossal waste of time and effort, and you lose every gooey drop of sipping flesh that you managed to craft, dying on the way back to the nearest save point.
Are you gonna be okay?
I will be.
To be fair, Zero Dawn's team is clearly going for some light survival roleplay, which apparently you suck at, where every android Littlefoot hulking around is a giant wall of hit me, kill me. The little woodland creatures act like a gallery of sharpshooting targets. Variety like this breaks up all the robot fighting while presenting an ongoing picture of survival. You can think of these hunts as, how would you say this? A seamless montage of Aloy's extended, unperceived journey.
Okay, I don't sound like that, and what are you talking about?
Like you were saying about Skyrim's off-screen economy, our character also has an off-screen life.
Have you been eating rock salt from the hardware store again?
I'm serious. You ever direct Aloy to wash her clothes? Or take a shit?
Okay.
Our characters have lives off-screen. When we close the game, when that screen fades to black, they aren't gone. We are. That grinding frustration that you feel, it's just a taste of what Aloy's actual struggle to survive would be like. Just be happy that you don't have to play through more of it.
Yeah, that's kind of a stretch, but I kind of see where you're coming from. Carefully applied frustration is an important design tool. It can motivate players to focus harder or experiment with a different strategy, but that's not how frustration is being applied here. Grinding for crafting materials is frustrating, not because I need to get good or rethink my approach, but because it's not Horizon Zero Dawn's allure. I'm here to fight giant robots and discover Aloy's story, not hunt wildlife to extinction. For the second time. And I'm extra irritated because the pretense of this hunt is kind of insulting, as if I don't know basic animal biology or how much raw liquescent meat a single human stomach can hold. And I would know. I was raised exclusively on beef jerky and Spam. I've gone a little hard on Zero Dawn's designers, but video games do this all the time. So much so that we're kind of desensitized to it.
But that's the thing. Games, art, doesn't have to make 100% sense. Not just because designers have imperfect meat brains, but because sometimes nonsense is the point. Sometimes metaphor is more important than preserving causality. Sometimes games only need story as window dressing, not as a point in and of itself.
Agreed. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try to make game mechanics and narrative coherent, and the realities they exist within internally consistent, especially when it's just too fucking obvious to ignore. I mean, how do designers mess this up so easily? Well, from a design point of view, it's actually pretty easy.
Necessary, even. Game first design. Game first design. Sounds like I'm saying game first design. It's something of a traditional approach to game design. You hear about it all the time when someone talks about finding the fun or giving advice to design your mechanics first. I even implied its benefits talking about Portal in the last video. This approach is more suitable for mechanics-focused and/or competitive games, like Scrabble, where the rules create a dynamic environment indirectly shaping our roadmap to victory, or sports like baseball, where we gotta bring our A game to win. But even mechanics-focused games can benefit from a little narrative context. For example, in Hearthstone, we're not here for a moving tale of Valeera and her spies defeating Rexxar and his beasts. We're here for the power play between cards on the field, spells in hand, and doing our best with a random draw. Not to say that we don't enjoy the appearance of silent stalkers slicing into the night, but it's like frosting on a cake. Equally important as a structural binder and for the aesthetic appeal, but ultimately not the bulk of dessert. Hearthstone would play just the same stripped of all of its identity, but it wouldn't be nearly as alluring or satisfying to play. When it comes to telling stories through play, however, designers often use a combination of different techniques. As games become more like interactive fiction, which I don't really consider to be purely games, more about that somewhere up here, the designer's job becomes an ongoing refinement between story and gameplay. The ultimate goal is to feature a story that empowers our agency within its narrative bounds, while using mechanics to help convey the world around us. So you see, game-first design isn't just an approach to creating games, it's also an emergent property of developing them. No matter how much pre-planning's occurred, some feature is gonna require tweaking in development, and let's say, hypothetically, we discover in playtesting that it is just super easy to keep a full stock of health potions, making combat super duper easy. Oh, that sounds familiar. I wonder what game you're talking about. To solve this, you might consider reducing replenished health,
but that could make potions too weak to be useful. The other obvious solution is to increase their crafting cost. Problem solved, but, from this new configuration emerges a new contradiction. Nope, not ludonarrative dissonance. Not this time. The gameplay and narrative are fully in sync here. They're just working together to portray an absurdity in an otherwise unabsurd world.
You don't see anything absurd about this world?
Nope. That's the point of suspending disbelief, accepting the extraordinary as the ordinary, and, to a personal degree, tolerating the absurd. Accepting robot dinosaurs is the price of enjoying Horizon Zero Dawn, and as previously mentioned, we're already accustomed to tolerating health potions, stemming the tide of internal injury, even crafting those little suckers from animal parts. It's the prolonged hunt for so much meat for one little potion that doesn't feel right, not only because it's unrealistic, but also because it's only necessary due to the game's mechanics. Designers often face a trade-off between maintaining a consistent narrative and creating enjoyable gameplay. However, in this case, both the narrative and gameplay are compromised for the sake of the other, for no obvious benefit.
But you said it yourself. If potions are too abundant, gameplay is too easy. Perhaps this is a lesser compromise to the benefit of challenging combat. Any other change would require a total overhaul, which could very well be impractical.
Yeah, he's got me there. Let's say there's nothing we can do about this mechanics-wise. Maybe it's too late in development, or this is the team's gameplay vision, my frustration with it be damned. But a little change of environmental storytelling can help Zero Dawn's reality remain in check. Instead of health potion, micro machines.
Super Van City! 1, 2, 3, 4!
No, not those kind of micro machines, like nanites that rebuild your body, but they, I don't know, look like fireflies in a jar or something, just to go with the techno-mystical mountain vibes.
Instead of 8 family buckets of dark meat spicy extra crispy, maybe magic stem cells or something? Who cares? It just needs to be precious, inherently small in quantity, in order to justify hunting all of these animals.
Sure, I may not enjoy being pulled away from fighting Mecha Barney and his friends, but at least my frustration goes to ground through gameplay alone. The world itself remains coherent. And that's really it, isn't it? When it comes to simulating economies in game, product and production need to be coherent with the game's world. Otherwise, players may have to engage in strange, possibly tedious behavior, making the main character seem out of place.
But game development is a fickle thing. Mechanics that feel right for the first 80% of a dev cycle can shift at the 11th hour. Features change, get cut, get mandated by some idiot with a rich dad. It's not always possible to strike a harmonious balance between gameplay and story. So, when you gotta choose, consider what will bring the player the most joy, and go from there.
There's a lot more to say about game first design, but friends, I'm afraid we run out of time. But don't think you're getting out of this, Ubisoft. Our bone to pick is just going to take a little bit more build-up. Our next episode goes over all the surprising ways economic distribution manifests in games, almost by accident, and how select titles have managed to revel in this undertapped source of play.
Subscribe please if you had fun, and for each like on this video, I promise to keep lookout so that Aloy can shit behind a boulder in peace.
Yeah, I don't think that's the motivation that you think it is, Counterbot.
Don't forget to follow Gameservatory on Twitter, Mastodon, Reddit, Instagram, and OnlyFans.
We don't have an OnlyFans.
Not yet.
But we do have a Ko-fi, and I'm excited to announce a new benefit for contributors and subscribers. I have more to say about Mass Effect 2, so if you want to go a little bit deeper on some armchair game design, hop on over and sign up. I'll be releasing my informal thoughts on design and gaming news periodically in between dropping these big honkin' videos on the main channel. I hope to see you there. Happy New Year's, everybody. And until next time, happy gaming. No, overkill, but please, stab me in the face.
When I forget my lines. Because it makes sense for you to do work that you can't do for yourself. For you to do, no, wait. That's not the line. What the f? Okay.